fell in love with barbecue. So it kind of started back then. I was talking to my dad and I'm like, we should get a smoker and just try things. And the first few recipes were not good. It was awful. I pride myself on we never went to the bank to borrow any money to do anything to start our business. The food truck is kind of my side fun job. I've got the recipe to where I love it. We sell a bunch of it, and a lot of people don't understand it took me over 5 years to get that recipe right.
You're making it from scratch.
I'm making it from scratch, that's correct.
Cheers.
Gambe.
Welcome back to the Doughboys podcast. I'm your host, Logan, joined by my co-host, Josh. Today is a special episode because it is our first ever in-person recording. We're joined by special guest, Tim Orisi. Tim owns a food truck called Q17. This is a local food truck based in Hillsboro, Illinois. He started this business from humble beginnings with pop-ups and ultimately built up to owning his own food truck. So today we're going to be diving into that journey of managing and starting this food business, as well as how he's able to manage all of his other efforts with his time. So Tim, thank you so much for joining us today. If you could just kind of tell us a little bit about the business and how it got started.
So we started at Opera House Brewing. I'm good friends with Tony, helped him brew. Me and him and my wife Jill and Jen were all in there one night. We were talking about how we have nowhere to eat on a Sunday night, Monday night. And I was like, I really like smoking food. I could maybe do it, one day a month. And Tony's like, I think you should do that. And Jill, she's unbelievable. She's my biggest supporter. She's like, if that's what you want to do, go for it. Try it. See how it works. Well, we went from one day a month to 3-4 days a week. Started with a plastic table, food warmers, foil pans, set up inside the brewery. It was an unbelievable reaction. Our Hillsboro's amazing. They will support everybody. I pride myself on we never went to the bank to borrow any money to do anything to start our business. And now we've got a food truck. I try to never say no to anybody, but the food truck is kind of my side fun job. And sometimes I have to say no. Yeah. But that's kind of the short history of how it started was there's just nowhere to eat. Mm-hmm. What can we do? Yeah. And the name was probably the hardest part of coming up with the business. It took me some time to come up with it. And a lot of people still ask, what does Q17 mean? Well, our area code is 217 and barbecue for short is just Q. Mm-hmm. So Q17 is a play on 217.
How'd you come up with that?
I drive a lot for work, so I have a lot of me time, and it just popped in my head. And then after we decided on that, a few weeks down the road, I'm like, Hillsboro's 532. I could have did 53Q also.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah. But there was I really enjoy going to restaurants. I love a good name on a restaurant that's like farm to table. Mm-hmm. And I have some other names that I'm kind of sitting on if it ever grows into like a farm to table, then I felt like a super fancy name probably wasn't correct for a barbecue business. So I've got a couple names I'm sitting on if it ever gets bigger.
Okay. So how long had you been smoking food on your own before you turned into a business?
Oh, probably 10 to 12 years at least.
And what was the process like for learning how to do that?
So back when I was in, I'd say 5th grade, I went to a Southern Illinois basketball game with my uncle. We went to 17th Street Barbecue. Fell in love with barbecue. So it kind of started back then. And then just one day, I was talking to my dad and I'm like, we should get a smoker and just try things. And the first few recipes were not good. It was awful. And it just evolved from there. We went through that one. I bought another one and just kept practicing and sharing with friends, and friends liked it. And you should smoke more brisket and do this and do that. And just the evolution of getting better and learning and reading. And
yeah. Well, it sounds to me like you have been interested in it and passionate about it for a long time.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's a key component for success in entrepreneurship?
Oh, absolutely. If you don't love what you're doing, you're setting yourself up for failure. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you don't love what you do, the passion is a big key.
Yeah. It also makes those hard days a lot easier.
Yeah.
Well, because you like the trial and the error,
right?
Of we didn't get the temperature right, or we didn't get the meat was too long, too short, that Absolutely. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of science involved there.
Yeah. So I do a white barbecue sauce. It's only found in a small area of Alabama. It's called Alabama white sauce. They put it on chicken, and I've got the recipe to where I love it. We sell a bunch of it, and a lot of people don't understand. It took me over 5 years to get that recipe right.
Wow.
I bought.
You're making it from scratch.
I'm making it from scratch. That's correct.
Mm.
I tried it at different restaurants. Some barbecue shops do have it. I bought it store bought, and every one of them there was just something I didn't like about it, and kept playing, and finally one day I was like, "This is the one."
No, this isn't like a horseradish barbecue.
No,
it's just
this
white
is
sauce.
a mayonnaise based with
Okay.
a little bit of vinegar and some other stuff.
Yeah. Because so like another local in like St. Louis, like Sugar Fire, they have like a horseradish
Yeah.
white barbecue sauce, but they don't have just the white barbecue sauce.
Right, their version of Alabama white has horseradish in it,
Yeah.
and it's too sharp.
Yes.
I mean it
Turns a lot of people away.
It turns a lot of people away, and the horseradish will wash out the smoke flavor, and it's too much for a meat like chicken. To be on chicken, it almost has to be more of a delicate sauce, because chicken doesn't bring a ton to the table. It's kind of what you season the chicken with, the smoke and the seasoning.
So how much with the how much experimenting did you have to do with like the different meats? Because you got brisket, you got pulled pork, right? Are those very different in cooking them? Did you have to do a lot of experience with each one?
I've got to
Is
the
it-
point where the temperatures, I run all my meat at the same temperature. It's just different times.
I got you.
And then on chicken, thighs are a little bit different because I buy bone in, but breasts are different because there is no bone. So you got to cook them a little bit longer to make sure the bone's done for safety reasons.
Was that an intentional goal, being able to cook everything at the same temp?
Yes, because then I can stack my smoker and just pull meats off at the time they need to come off. Everything can go in. I don't really have to have different smokers for different meats.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take before you found that perfect temperature that you can get everything at?
Not too long. The time is what took. I always set it with the same temperature, and the trial and error was how long until chicken is good, and then where is chicken ruined?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then I had a gap, and then I just started dialing it in to where I know I've got within a half an hour of close enough. And brisket is its own animal. Brisket's done when brisket's done. I can give you like, it's about 16 hours. But in a case of brisket, there'll be a 10 pounder and there'll be an 18 pounder. And I mean, it can be a variation of 12 hours for the 10 pounder and 18 hours
Wow.
for the big one. So brisket's done when brisket's done.
How do you know? You're just cutting off slabs to see if it's done?
You can poke it,
Okay.
and you can tell by the way it moves.
Okay.
And some brisket on the flat end will kind of start to separate just a little bit. If it starts to separate, you're getting it too dry.
Mm.
But
Have you seen the movie The Founder?
I've not.
It's really good. It's about the startup of McDonald's. The book is also called Grinding It Out. Very similar stories there, the book and the movie. But when you said it took you 5 years to make your sauce, it reminded me of a quote from the movie. They're explaining how they went through all these different phases and trials to see what business model would actually work. They finally found the one that would work, which was just a fast, speedy system. Orders ready in 30 seconds. And then they said, there we were, an overnight success, 20 years in the making.
Yeah.
The customers, they see and just people looking at the business, they see that front end overnight success. They don't see that it took you 5 years to make your sauce.
Right.
They don't see that you've been practicing this since you were in the 5th grade.
Yeah.
People don't understand how much work goes into that overnight success.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when I spoke with the CEO class, I think that was kind of what I told them is like, a lot of people don't understand that I get up at 2 a.m. to check my smokers. I get up at 4 a.m. to check the smokers. They come to the food truck and it's there.
Yep.
But that doesn't bother me. That's part of the job. That's part of the business. And I'm perfectly fine with that. And like I told the CEO kids, don't let that get in the way. Let people enjoy the product, just deliver.
Yeah.
You can't, I don't complain about getting up at 2 a.m. because that's what it takes.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that you get up at 3 a.m. and you might be a little bit tired. You chose that path.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's the passion thing also, is if you're passionate, it does not bother me. I'll catch a nap. That's fine.
I love the beginning of the story when you were saying how you were like, oh, there's nowhere to eat. And then you were like, I'm just going to do something about that.
Yeah.
But I also love like your friends played into that. Like you started up on a plastic table in their restaurant, and that helped you to not have to take out a loan. Like you could just keep
Right. You just
growing it
drop
on your own, like, and with the time, because you had a 9 to 5 while you were doing that,
Still
right?
do.
Still do.
Still do.
So you're managing like 9 to 5 and still being able to grow barbecue
Yes.
business,
Yeah. And
which the 9 to 5 is a lot of drive time.
it's a lot of drive time. I drive about 7,000 miles a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. And also I help my wife. She flips houses and is a real estate investor. So I do tile work and help her wherever. So we stay busy,
Yeah.
but
To say the least.
to say the least.
So how do you manage your time with having so much going on?
To be honest, I kind of put the barbecue business first. If I have something going on of an evening, I just know what time I need to be home to prep, and then take a half a day at work or whatever I have to do with work, and just manage. If there's something that she needs done, we work that in, and we just make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't. Sometimes I don't know how we do it, but it just works.
Do you use like a calendar or reminders or any kind of systems to help you manage your time?
I'm still a pen and a paper guy. I've got a paper book and everything goes in my paper calendar. I have not figured out how to use my iPhone calendar. I don't trust it. I just like to look at a piece of paper and know what I've got going on for the day.
There's something about that too, with like the brain psychology of like physically writing something down with
Yep.
pen and paper.
Yeah.
It gets in your brain more.
Yeah. If I write it down, I can kind of keep the dates in my head. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I know I got this coming up
Right.
2 weeks from now. But
Just
if I put
crazy.
it in a phone,
Yeah.
I won't look at my calendar. It's just not part of my habit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm very structured. I'm very habit oriented. So
Yeah.
every morning I can walk up to my book and flip the page and make sure I don't have anything in the next 3 or 4 days.
Do you think that this is a business that could become your full job?
I do.
Or okay.
Yes.
So that's something you think you're working toward?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it have to stay local to Hillsboro, or will the food truck travel to events and things
We'll
like
travel. I try to stay in the county
Okay.
because different counties have different food codes
Mhm.
and different permits. So I try to stay in the county. I've already got the permits. The health department's already signed off on my truck. So if I go to a different county, I've got to start all over again with their health department or temporary permits.
Man, just counties? People don't think about things like that. Like
Right.
we're in the same state, but there's still
Right.
That's crazy.
Yep. And each county has, for the most part, they're the same, but each county has different regulations. But it's buying a permit for each county, unless I'm going to go to that county multiple times a year, it just doesn't make sense after I buy the permits.
Is it like an annual permit that you have
Yes.
to pay for?
Yes,
Okay.
yearly. Some counties do temporaries where you can do like 10 or 12 temporaries a year, but each individual one, it's cost wise, you just should buy the whole year.
Okay. What was the process like for learning all the code and stuff that you had to keep up with?
I just called our health department and they've been wonderful to work with. There's 2 people out there that are my point of contacts. They're the inspectors. And if I have a question, they always answer what I need to do and what they expect. And inspections go smooth. You know, it's kind of, I tend to ask what to do before they come and find it.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that that's made life really simple.
Yeah.
Instead of just asking for forgiveness later.
How frequently do they come and check?
I get inspected a minimum of once a year, and that's unannounced. And then every year I have to reapply for my food permit. And then every 5 years I have to get a food management permit through the state.
I want to take a quick moment to interrupt and thank this video's sponsor, The Annex. All these videos were filmed at The Annex at Lincoln Square in Hillsboro, Illinois. They offer workspace memberships, event space rentals, conference room, and more. So if you're interested in any of these services, be sure to check out The Annex at Lincoln Square in Hillsboro, Illinois. Thank you to The Annex for giving us a spot to record these videos and for helping to provide this space and service in Hillsboro.
So how does the unannounced visit work with you being a food truck?
I tell them, I email them where I'm going to be on what dates and what times, and they just pick a random date and they knock on the door.
Do you have to tell them every time you're setting up?
They want just a broad list
Okay.
of this
And then
is
they'll pick one.
what's on my schedule,
Gotcha.
and they'll pick one and show up.
Like I'd imagine there's some events are big for the food truck, right? Like Old Settlers and like the summer like fairground events. Or
I don't do those festivals so much. There's quite a bit going on at Old Settlers. We just we take that day off and enjoy Old Settlers.
Okay.
I do the car show the Sunday before Old Settlers. Our biggest, to be honest, is probably our Oktoberfest downtown.
Okay.
That and our Christmas market are the two. And Christmas market is kind of dependent on weather. But our Oktoberfest has, for the last 3 years, has been our biggest day.
Okay. Because that was another question. I was like, is there a particular season that you notice that is like more? So you'd say like the fall is kind of.
For the most part, all of our events run about the same. It's just the big events where we draw a ton of people to town. Everybody's open. There's people up and down Main Street all day long, and they eat multiple times a day.
Yeah.
So it's big events like that. But our Oktoberfest is.
Now in the summer when the opera house is open and they open up the shutters on like some weekends, will you open up right in front of there while they're during their hours?
That's kind of our bread and butter place.
Yeah.
Pulling up right next to the brewery on a Saturday or Sunday for lunch that's what we like.
Those two would.
Because
Go
we're
really
only block away,
Yeah.
block and a half away.
Yeah.
So we just
a
pull
big
around
commute.
the corner and we're ready to go. Yep.
That's
and you
awesome.
pull around the corner and clean up the truck and we're done. But yeah, being right next to the brewery is our bread and butter place. And there's foot traffic down there. There's a candle shop down there that is pretty nice.
Get a barbecue sandwich, a drink, and then come buy a candle.
Yeah.
Perfect.
If we could work on a barbecue candle.
There we go. We made a bacon one before. I think it smells a little like jerky.
Jerky.
Let's look into that. So going back to, you think this could one day be kind of your full-time job. What's your roadmap for getting to that point?
So right now, my wife is retired from her full-time job and went into real estate investing full-time. Once we get that under control and make sure everything there is on its path, then I'll start getting more serious.
Mm-hmm.
So the back of one of our buildings, I've got a kitchen designed and ready to be built. We'll go brick and mortar.
Okay.
I don't know how much seating I'm going to have, if any, or if I'm just going to use that for catering and then to pre-prep for the food truck.
Okay.
But I would like to get my kitchen built out and then go full-time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would like to continue to not have to go to the bank to continue this business. Once I start full-time, I'd like to have no ties to the bank.
Mm-hmm. Why is that important to you?
I don't want to owe them money for what is right now just a fun job.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be burdened with a bank loan or bills or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that makes it a lot easier. If there's an event I don't want to do, I'm not obligated to have to say yes to everything.
When you have that debt payment, you gotta pay it.
You've gotta,
You gotta take the jobs.
Yeah.
You don't have as much freedom.
Right. Yeah.
That
I
makes
don't
sense.
want to be obligated in that way.
So if you make the transition to go full-time, then that's probably a step you'll have to take, but you'll be willing to? Or?
My goal is to not. My
Okay.
goal is to position myself in the next year or 2 years with the food truck to where I can build out my kitchen without using the bank.
And that's more than doable.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Sweet.
that should not be an issue.
Sweet. So if you had the brick and mortar store, you're thinking you have the food truck just parked right outside the brick and mortar store?
Possibly
Or there'll
outside,
be-
or I probably just keep going around the corner to the brewery.
Okay.
You know, I've got, the way it works is kind of, it's a great scenario for Tony and Jen and Jill and myself, because they've got a bar that serves beer and drinks. I don't have to carry drinks. And I've got a restaurant. They don't have to worry about food and cooking and employees.
Mm-hmm.
So they're my sit-down restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm their food. You know, I don't have to have drinks or an alcohol license. They don't have to have a food license or any of the food prep stuff.
Yeah.
It's a perfect partnership.
It's a perfect partnership, and we're literally 10 feet from the seating.
And and when the weather's nice, there's nice outside seating
Yes.
there too.
Yes.
So it's like, it's really nice. It's a nice building. Yeah, that was interesting because I know that there's a restaurant moving to Greenville, and they're moving there pretty much just because Greenville opened up the availability for restaurants to have liquor license.
Mhm.
So I was going to ask if you were getting that, but if you've got that partnership there, no need.
Right.
I just know that's like a big revenue for a lot of businesses.
Yes. Yeah, no, I prefer
Yeah.
not to have to deal with drinks and ice and coolers. And
Yeah. It's a lot of hassle.
we go a couple places where we do take coolers with us, and it's just one more thing to remember. And it's fine. It's just a lot easier when we don't have to remember that.
Who would you say your ideal customer is, or your target customer, and then how do you get them to come shop at your business?
So I don't know if I have an ideal customer, but the Facebook algorithm has told me who my target customer is, and that tends to be females between the age of 21 and 55.
Okay,
And
me too.
I can then I can set Facebook to send my post to that target demographic. I believe it's because they're making dinner decisions and food decisions for their family, and with that information, I guess that is my ideal target. But it's only because that's what Facebook has told me. Wants to see my content.
So is Facebook your main way that you promote your business?
That is my only way.
Only way.
Yes.
Okay. Have you thought about other avenues?
I have not. I'm not.
Don't need to.
I don't think I need to right
Okay.
now. Maybe when we go brick and mortar and full time, I'll look at Instagram or any other avenues. I'm not sure what those are.
Google. You guys are on Google. Google would be a big one for if you have a brick and mortar. Just a lot of people will hop on there to see your hours, see if
Right.
you're open.
Yeah.
Food near me.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and all
Some
that
traffic.
stuff I'll
Yeah.
research down the
Yeah.
road. But yeah, Facebook with a boosted post seems to do everything I need to do right now.
Right. Yeah. And you get all your friends sharing it. And
Right.
Opera House posting it.
Yep.
That's more than enough.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Could you talk to us a little bit about where you get your meat from?
So I have to buy from a reputable resource. Right now, it's GFS in Springfield or in St. Louis and Hy-Vee. Also, if there's some other grocer that has meat on sale that will sell by the case, which is kind of hard to find, buying meat by the case, I'll use them. But right now, GFS or Hy-Vee.
How did you meet them, come into contact, get that?
Just research,
Okay.
going to Hy-Vee and speaking with the manager in the meat department. If they'll work with me on case prices, usually they will. Some meats are already discounted to where they cannot. And then GFS is just a bulk wholesale grocery chain.
You from the start, when you opened it up, you were buying by the case.
Yes.
Okay. Because I'd imagine, I mean, that's different from when you're testing at home and you're just trying it out for yourself.
Right.
Versus, I'm going to sell a bunch of this. Like your first time buying by a case, was that a big learning experience?
A little bit, because if you put a whole case of pork butts on the smoker, your cooking time is different than putting one on, because you're throwing all those blocks of chilled meat into a heat source, which brings your temperature down, which then you have to recover.
Yeah.
But if you only put one in there, your temperature kind of stays the same.
Right.
But when, a whole case of pork butts is about 80 pounds. So you're putting 80 pounds of meat in a smoker at one time.
Your first time buying, did you like buy too much, too little? Whereas before the
Sometimes it's too much, and we get to eat that for the rest of the week.
yeah.
But pork and brisket freeze just fine. You can thaw it and weed it at home and make different recipes, pork tacos and stuff. But I wouldn't say, usually it's not too much, because there's always somebody at the end of the shift that comes and wants to buy it in bulk to take home for the week. And then I have some customers that will come up and say, hey, if there's any left, let me know. I'll come and get it when you're done. Logan's
Yeah.
one of them. Yeah, if you have any brisket left, let me know.
Yeah.
So the main meats are, I would say there's really, within reason, no such thing as too much.
Yeah, it's a different business model. I don't know why I'm just now realizing this, but it's a different business model than most like other restaurants. Because most restaurants, you're like, you've got some left over from like the end of the week before you're buying your next supply, whereas you're just buying to cook.
I'm making for the day.
Yeah. So
And-
then that might adjust when you go brick and mortar, and you might have to change that
Well,
style.
yeah, if I go brick and mortar, there is a tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right now, there's no tomorrow.
I see.
Um,
That makes it easier. Your orders just get it in,
Right.
cook it. Yeah.
And so I order a lot of times I can pick up the day before, 2 days, probably 2 days before, because my seasoning period is 24 to 48 hours. A lot of that I can tell by my Facebook post of how many people have liked it, shared it, seen it. And then usually it's about 10 to 15% of how many people I reach that probably will show up. And then I can do the math backwards to see how much I need to cook. And usually it's pretty close. I've gotten to, when I first started, we would run out of food within 35, 40 minutes. And now I've got to the point where if we run out, it's closer to the end of the night or end of the day. So I've kind of got that dialed in to where we're pretty close on the amount we cook.
It's a pretty nice problem to have.
Yeah,
right now.
it's
Yeah.
real nice. I remember the first time we set up on the front porch of the brewery, and the line was down the street past the Moose, and I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
wow, yeah." And
It was
like,
gone.
It was gone.
Yeah.
Like the fourth guy in line ordered 5 pounds of pulled pork, and I'd only made 20.
So talk to us a little bit about your different revenue streams. So you've got the food truck and catering. Is there anything else that you do?
No, that's pretty much the two routes. Is food truck and catering.
Do you prefer one over the other?
I really like the food truck. I like catering. The thing about catering that makes me nervous is making sure everything's ready and hot and on time
Mm-hmm.
and not ruining somebody's event.
Mm.
If it's the food truck and I'm running a little behind, it's more acceptable. If I'm doing a wedding and they say we're eating at 5:30, it better be there and ready when before the line starts, and that makes me nervous.
Mhm.
Do you think one is more scalable than the other?
Catering is, because I know how many people are going to be there. All the information's available well beforehand. I know how many meals I need to have ready. I know what time. I know everything.
Yeah.
So there's really no waste.
Makes sense. Now, talking about that just popped in my mind when you're talking about kind of using the Facebook data to figure out how much you can cook. Would you say that you are a data-oriented person?
I'm trying to become that.
Okay.
At first, I didn't know how to use it, but in the last couple of years, I've noticed a trend, and it's with the people I reach, it's somewhere around 10% of those people are who's going to show up at the food truck, and it's give or take, and weather plays a role in it, and a lot of factors. But it's taken me about that long to notice a trend in the data.
Mhm. Are there any other tools or data points that you look at, or is it mainly just that Facebook?
I jot down notes in my calendar book, like
Okay.
how did yesterday go? I'll
Gotcha.
write down the weather, how much I cooked, what was left, and then I can kind of go from there. But the weather's always a factor. People do not like to stand outside when it's cold and rainy.
Mm-hmm.
Last year's kind of Mardi Gras celebration was fantastic. We did shrimp tacos and we went through a ton of shrimp. This year was cold and windy, and it was not great. And it was just weather driven.
Mm-hmm.
You grilled shrimp or you smoked shrimp? Wow.
Yeah, smoked shrimp tacos.
Sounds amazing.
Would you say weather is your kind of biggest outside threat, or is there anything else?
I would say weather, yeah. And some days when it's bad weather, it's good.
Mm.
You just don't know.
You never know.
You never know. Wind doesn't seem to be a big factor, but cold and wet.
Okay.
Would you, another revenue source, would you, if someone came to you and were like, we want to just buy some 5 pounds of smoked brisket, you do that for them?
Yeah.
Okay.
If somebody calls and says, actually, I have a person that puts pulled pork away for the winter, and that person will contact me. If you have any left from any events, or are you cooking any, or will you cook some?
Yeah.
I would like 2 pounds separated into 1 pound packages. I'm getting ready for the winter and I freeze it. Absolutely.
Okay.
I can make it happen. I can fit it in with an event, or if it's enough, I'll just, I've got a small smoker that I can put 1 or 2 butts in, and
Mm-hmm.
I will do that. And I've got another person who loves brisket and will say, cook me a whole brisket. I don't care how big it is, but I'll take it all.
And you send your sauce with that as well.
If they ask for it, yes.
Okay. That would be a little bit extra.
Yeah, a little extra. Yep. I sell my sauce by the 16-ounce container.
So that would come in a bottle just ready to go, or?
I do like plastic snap top containers, like to-go containers.
I got you. Okay, cool. That's really cool.
What would you say are some of your long-term goals, like more on a personal level? And then how does Q17 tie into that?
Long-term is being more entrepreneurial,
Okay.
which is hard for me because my mindset is always have have a job, have health insurance, have the retirement. But I really admire and look up to my friends who have done it, and I see the freedom, and that's where I want to be. Like I said, my wife just retired, and she does her real estate investing, and I already see the freedom,
Mm-hmm.
and it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I see my other friends are on a Tuesday afternoon going to lunch, and I'm at my job. You know, and that's looks really rewarding to me, and I hope that's where I'm heading. And Q17 is how that happens.
Yeah.
So you'd be thinking like getting some employees at Q17 type deal so that you have that freedom, or not there?
Probably not.
Okay.
I don't really have aspirations of employees. I want to keep my recipes to myself. I think what that would look like is me doing maybe 2 or 3 events a week with the food truck or the brick and mortar, however it works out, and then helping my wife with real estate wherever I need to, and just kind of tying them together. But that's kind of how it looks right now, I think.
If the real estate's in the county, that could even be some connections for clients for Q17,
Right.
Well, potentially.
Yeah. Yeah, we have real estate in the county, and we do, she does quite a bit in the St. Louis area right now.
Well, if anyone is interested in Q17, where can they find you out online?
Facebook and message on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're local and interested, definitely check out Q17 on Facebook. Tim, thank you so much for coming
Thanks
on,
for having me.
talking about your story in Q17.
Thank you. I appreciate it.